Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at AmericanExpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and NIL Game Changers. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
I feel like I'm in an unfamiliar setting. It's actually in the studio. It's been a while since I've been here. So I'm going to do the next 8 shows here, and then I'm going to do 3 shows from Los Angeles. For the next road trip, technically, it's actually going to be Beverly Hills. I mean, you don't think I'd hang out in L.A., do you? I mean, really, me? Los Angeles? No. Beverly Hills.
Live from the grotto?
I'd like to keep the location undisclosed. No, that's because we're staying in Beverly Hills. It's interesting, some teams, when they go out there, have stayed at 2 different hotels. Michigan did. We're just going to stay at one. I think that's... But that's a couple of games away, and Penn State's got 2 games in between they need. Again, the losses, which each one of them, except for Illinois, and I did not see the Illinois game. I was in Miami at the time. I did not have BTN in my room, so I didn't see it. But these are all those gut-wrenching losses. Now, I am going to bring up with Mike tonight on the call-in show about timeout, no timeout. Now, I know exactly why Mike is not calling timeouts at the end of games and halves. I know exactly why. Okay? So, but I want him to explain to you, as an audience, why. Because I think that's important, right? That you hear from the coach, what his philosophy is, why. Because it's not a standard, like, this is how I do it all the time. No, there are reasons why Mike does it. I want him to explain that to everybody tonight, why he doesn't do it. I mean, I can explain it too, but, I don't know if you want me to, but I can.
The Big Ten Network studio guys basically put that game on him. Said Dusty May called a timeout, got them a basket, and Rhodes didn't call a timeout to get them a basket.
Well, first of all, Dusty May did call a timeout, and it helped his team get a basket. There's no question about that, because Dick and I saw it, with the wide view that we have. Hey, the bottom line is they were confused. And then with 6 on the shot clock, they were confused. And he could tell right away that they were. Penn State at the end wasn't confused. If Penn State was confused, okay, then I'd be like, okay, wait a minute. They need a timeout. They weren't confused. Michigan was confused. You could tell right away the possession that they had was a mess. All right? The key turnover was, the reason Penn State lost is 18 turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason they lost. When you have 68 possessions and you score 72 points on the 50 possessions where you got a shot, guess what? That's pretty good. Okay? When you're sitting there and you have 50 possessions where you get a shot, right? You are talking about an efficiency rate that is tremendous. Let's see here. Hold on a second here. So it's okay. 1.44 points per possession when you got a shot. The 18 turnovers are empty possessions. The 18 turnovers, some of which are live ball turnovers, turn into points normally, not always, but normally at the other end, although Penn State had more points off of turnovers last night than Michigan did. But you can't have 18 empty possessions. And Penn State had a chance up 5 to get a stop and a score, which would have made it a 3-possession game. That would have done it. They would have won. Now, let's give Donaldson credit. He hit shots. All right? At the end. And he ended up with a career-high 21. Penn State's defense certainly has to be better. Penn State's on-the-ball defense certainly has to be better. Mike does not want to play zone, but Mike knows right now he has to play zone at times. He didn't want to play zone. My goodness, I asked Nick Kern about it. I said, when's the last time you played zone? He said, we didn't even play zone in high school. He said, I've never played zone for Mike in my life. He played for him at VCU, but Mike has to do it based on the current circumstances, where he's got to sometimes play zone. The zone was okay last night. There were moments it was good, and there were other moments where it wasn't. Right? The play to Nick Kern, he absolutely got fouled on the play.
Oh, yeah.
Right. In fact, he got fouled in 2 different ways. Right. To be honest with you, Wolf should have been hit with not only a foul, but also one other violation on the play. Okay? But what can you do about it? I know that's Matt calling. So what we'll do is we'll take a break. We'll come back. More in a moment here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
When car repairs get difficult.
Well, I just don't know.
Me neither.
We get good. Sunbury Motors. More than quality new and used cars, Sunbury Motors specializes in complicated auto repair diagnosis. They can handle intricate repairs and even complete auto body with service open Monday through Friday, 7 till 4. And Sunbury Motors has made simple repairs easy. Maintaining your vehicle is necessary. Finding the time to do it is difficult. Welcome to Sunbury Motors Quick Lane. Just walk in or call ahead. Relax in their remodeled waiting room with Wi-Fi, beverages, and snacks. While Sunbury Motors factory-trained techs take care of your oil change, tire alignments, brakes, and inspections. Quick Lane, 6:30 to 6 Monday through Friday, Saturday 6:30 till 2. Sunbury Motors, Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. We take the out of auto repair.
Every week, we cede about 15 minutes of the show to irrationality. This is that moment.
I call it honest opinions, because that's what I bring each and every week, Steve Jones.
Oh, can't wait to hear these inventive ones. Go ahead.
Well, I must say, let's start off with this, because obviously it is a very happy week that the Eagles are back in the Super Bowl once again. But I'm just looking at the Philadelphia 76ers Twitter timeline, and I still have yet to see the team acknowledge that, where I've seen the Flyers acknowledge it, I've seen the Phillies acknowledge it, the Union, the Philadelphia Wings, if anybody still cares about that team, but not the Philadelphia 76ers. I wonder why. Oh, it's because Josh Harris's team got embarrassed for 3.5 quarters, let's say, total, on national TV in the NFC Championship game across the street. Let's see, his hockey team's now lost 2 in a row to the Flyers, including last night. And if the Sixers lose tonight or tomorrow, which I think they'll probably lose both because Joel Embiid is still MIA and probably will be for the rest of the year, all 4 of his franchises in North America could all lose in Philadelphia in a week. Oh, I think I figured it out now. What a fraudulent odor in Josh Harris. And he's getting the brunt of everything now. So, that would be the definition of petty. not having your franchise in Philadelphia not acknowledge that the football team, who is easily still the most popular team of the four pro sports in the city, acknowledge that they're going back to the Super Bowl, or even wish them luck. So that's our word of the day today, Steve Jones, is petty. Designed by one, Josh Harris.
I think the kid in the background speaks for the audience.
Well, they don't know who he is yet because he's not acknowledged in our household.
He's not acknowledged in your household?
No, he's not. And he never will be, quite frankly,
let me ask you something.
He is no longer owning the Philadelphia 76ers.
How many times do you think John Henry's name has been discussed in my household when we talk about the Red Sox? How about never? I have a life.
Jeff Lurie's discussed in his household pretty much, but I'm also a little annoyed with him too. We can get to that maybe a little bit later, but mostly been praised.
Well, I wouldn't be that annoyed with him because as much as Howie Roseman is getting accolades for what some of the things he's done, as I explained on yesterday's show, and I thought clearly, there are moments where it is an organizational decision. And Howie can suggest something, but if he doesn't have Jeffrey Lurie's backing to do it, you don't have Saquon Barkley. You don't have him. Okay, remember, Derrick Henry got a 2-year contract at $16 million, $8 million a year. You have to have the ability to put yourself in the shoes of the time frame. The time frame 1 year ago was that running backs were not getting money. It is one thing for Howie to strongly suggest we need to get Saquon Barkley. It's another thing for Jeffrey Lurie to say, you put together a contract, whatever it takes to get him, and sign him. And it was 3 years, 37, which is completely different than all the other running backs in there. No Jeffrey Lurie and his backing, you don't have Saquon Barkley.
Oh, yeah, no question, which is why he deserves all the praise in the world. And it's not just Saquon, it's all this, everything that's happened. I mean, they had to renegotiate A.J. Brown's contract when they got him in the trade from Tennessee. And we can go on and on with the players that have impacted each of the Eagle teams that went to the Super Bowl, all 5 of them now, under Jeffrey Lurie's tenure. There had to have been some really big signings, and he was backed up every single one. T.O. Go back to T.O. in 2004.
He wasn't
the back that up. He knew that he can be a diva and what his attitude was. It didn't work. It was an ugly ending in the end, but guess what? It got the Eagles a Super Bowl appearance for the first time since 1980 at that time. And now they've been to 4 more since with other impact players that he signed. So, yeah, I'm not going to – even if Jeffrey Lurie were to get the Celtics – I'm still not going to overly criticize him like I would. Why do you get?
Here's one thing. Look, okay, you got to stop. You got to stop. Okay, they have money. They're allowed to buy what they want. For goodness sakes, you rip Josh Harris left and right. All right. Well, I don't understand why you rip Josh Harris because he has money and he wants to own sports teams. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, if the league approves and he has the money to put into it, fine. Okay, but for goodness sakes, you got to stop. You can't just sit there and go, I'm going to own all the Philadelphia teams. Nobody owns all those teams. I mean, now John Henry is going to sell a part of the Penguins because it's getting a little bit too much for them to operate and they want to get an NBA franchise. There's only so many people that have the kind of money that can get a pro sports franchise. And if Jeffrey Lurie wants a basketball franchise, so be it. If it happens to be the Celtics, great. I mean, that's fine. But you can't keep ripping people because they have the ability to do something and it doesn't fit your personal agenda. And I mean that in no uncertain terms. It's getting to be a bit asinine, Matt. It really is. Right? Who cares what team Josh? Who cares what he owns? Who cares what they own? If you're going to be invested in a franchise, be invested in it. That's all I'm asking for. That's fine. But you rip him because he owns the Washington Commanders. What's wrong? He's got his own. Every team has its own separate operation. He just happens to be the guy signing the checks. And you rip him because the Sixers are a poorly run organization. The Devils aren't. And what he's done with the Commanders, they aren't.
The Devils, I think they're the only team of the four of his North American sports franchises that have made it to a conference final, which I think was a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the Sixers haven't gotten over their hump at all.
The Commanders just made the conference final.
Other than the Commanders going into this year, he hadn't had any success except for the one year the Devils got to the Eastern Conference final. Other than the Commanders this year. Josh Harris has
Matt. Enough.
He's able to make it work with the Commanders.
Enough. Don't embarrass yourself, Matt.
Why can't he make it work with the Sixers?
Matt, enough.
My biggest thing.
He can't make it work because
I know he's ultimately signing the checks, but he's still signing the checks for people that run the organization. So why is this not happening with the NBA team and it's happening with the other teams? That's my biggest question.
The Sixers have made a series of the people, as you're right, he has to look at that part, and because don't embarrass yourself on this anymore. I'm serious. Okay? I can kid around with you. Now I'm not going to kid around with you. Okay? The Devils are fine because he has a good organizational plan. The Commanders so far are good because they've had a good organizational plan. The Sixers have had a terrible organizational plan for years, right? They are a poorly run franchise. This whole thing about what they were doing with the process and everything was sickening to watch. They tried not to win for years because they thought that was a plan. And the only guy they got out of it was Embiid. One guy. Everybody else, poor picks, poor evaluation, every which way, shape, or form. So you're right. He has to take care of the organization of the Sixers. But don't rip the fact that he owns Washington and they play against the Eagles. What the heck? Who cares? Do you think I care who owns the team? I care if they own the team and they don't invest any money in the team. Look at the Pirates. Their ownership should be ripped. They don't invest in the team. They don't. Now, you could say whatever about when in terms of investing in the team, they gave Embiid $163 million. Okay? Maybe not the best investment, but at least they are pouring money into what they think is their best player. Okay? If the owner is not putting money in, now you can be critical. I don't care if he owns the Commanders. For some reason, you got to bug up your backside about the fact that he owns a team in your division. Who cares?
The only question I would ask is, would you want to spend money on a team that's not winning, that then also the owner owns two other teams now that are rivals to the other sports franchises that you like? Would you as a consumer want to do that? For me, no. I can tell you right now, this Sixers organization is such a disgrace that I am not spending 1 minute of my time watching them. I'm not spending $1 of my money going to them or buying any merchandise until there's a change in ownership, because this guy obviously can't make it work with this franchise. Sure, he's pouring in all the money, but they're not winning. They're pouring in all the money you want, but they're not winning. That's the main thing. They are not winning. They are They're disgracefully run. But he's making it work with the other franchises. So I am not wasting any of my time and money into this franchise until there's a change in ownership, because I just don't think this guy gets it when it comes to the Sixers. Obviously, he's getting it with the Commanders and everybody else, but it's not working with the Sixers. That's all I'm saying.
How do you feel?
I don't think it's good business.
By the way, how do you?
It's one thing to own another franchise, but it's another thing when you own the franchise of a rival.
It doesn't matter who owns the team.
He doesn't understand the Philadelphia fan base.
I don't care if he owns the Washington Commanders. I don't care. You care. I don't get why you care. I don't understand that in the least. Who cares? I mean, it doesn't matter. You know how many people are like all Philadelphia fans? Not even you are an all Philadelphia fan.
That's okay, but I'm not an owner.
You're a Yankees fan. Okay? So it's okay for you to do that, but it's not okay for him to own multiple franchises? Come on. I mean, how do you explain to your kids the 2-11 record?
I'm the fan.
Yeah, but how do you explain? How do you explain the 2-11 record? You don't even know what I'm talking about. How do you explain to your kids the 2-11 record?
I don't know what you're talking about. What is the 2-11 record?
That's the record of the Philadelphia franchises since 1983 in finals.
But at least all those owners were doing all they can to win at that time.
Are you sure? They 11 of them lost. Did they do everything?
I believe that they did.
Really? You don't even know which franchises I'm talking about. You wonder why Philadelphia is a frustrated city? The last 13 finals they've been in, they've only won 2.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour brought to you by our good friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. These are great people. You know, Todd and I have spent a fair amount of time around the Purdy Insurance people, charity events, so forth. They're just great people. These great people who do great work. They're pros. And it's all at Purdy Insurance. They do, by the way, they'll do whatever they can to save you money. So important these days. You're trying to save as much coin as you can. And they'll make sure you're fully insured while also making sure that you save some money. It's all at Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. He's got a real bug up his backside about Josh Harris. Jeez. You know how many times he's come on the show and talked about him?
I was going to say, this is like a year and a couple months in, a lot.
I mean, like, why? Like, if you are siphoning off resources and not throwing all your resources into one of your franchises, now you do have an issue. Okay. Right? Like, for example, I'll tell you, like, Red Sox fans, for example, feel that deep down, especially with LeBron James being a part of the ownership group, that John Henry is angling to get the Las Vegas franchise when the NBA expands. So is he putting enough resources into the Red Sox? Right? But he owns Liverpool. He owns the Penguins, Fenway Roush Racing, and the Red Sox. Now, he's going to sell off, it looks like he's now going to sell off at least some shares of the Penguins. Okay? But who cares that he owns? He's mad that if Josh Harris, I'll give you an example. If Josh Harris owned the Minnesota Vikings and not the Washington Commanders, he wouldn't say a word about it. You want to know why? They're not in the NFC East. Right?
I also think part of it is just the absolute frustration with the Sixers.
But the Sixers are just, in the NBA world, a poorly run franchise, no matter who they have put in charge of it.
Well,
they can't seem to get a handle on the league, and they have made so many poor decisions. Drafting Ben Simmons was a poor decision, and I said it the day they drafted him. Now, why did I say that? Okay? I said that because I watched him 1 year at LSU, and I saw maybe 3 games. And I'm watching him play, and I'm thinking, I don't get it. Right? And LSU, I think, finished 1 game over 500. Well, if he's that great on the college level, shouldn't you at least be like winning 23, 24 games? if he's that good? Like, I didn't get it. I mean, well, the talent around him. Well, he's the first overall pick in the draft. Exactly what talent is he going to? They drafted Markelle Fultz. You're like going, Markelle? I watched Markelle Fultz play at Washington. It was at the University of Washington. It was obvious Jason Tatum was the best player in the draft. And the Celtics had the first pick, and they were so confident the Sixers would make a mistake personnel-wise. They traded and still got Tatum.
See, I find that more egregious than Ben Simmons.
Right. I agree with you. I mean, that is more egregious. But I'm saying, like, I remember watching, and the Celtics kept saying, we're looking at Fultz, and I'm like, and I was doing the show at the time. I said, Tatum's the best player in the draft. Right? Okay. Well, again, it's that ability to do that. And I know Embiid's had injuries. I got it. In fact, the first 2 years in the league, he didn't play because, I think it was, foot problems? Something like that.
Yeah, foot problems from Kansas.
Yeah, right. But I don't think Josh Harris was the owner then, was he?
No, I don't believe not yet.
No, I don't think he was the owner back then. But they've had a franchise that they've had just, like, he's got the right people running the Devils. It appears after 1 year he's got the right people running the Commanders. He doesn't have the right people running the Sixers. They don't have a handle on the league and how to put a team together. And they're kind of in that no man's land. Like in this league, if you get into no man's land, you're not drafting high anymore, and you're good enough. I mean, they can't get past the second round. But he has a real problem with the fact that he owns the Commanders. Why? What do you want, Daniel Snyder to own the team? Daniel Snyder, okay. See, that's when fans should be mad at their own ownership. When Daniel Snyder's your owner.
Did you see that story this weekend?
Yeah, I did.
Joe Gibbs had to talk him into giving Josh Harris the banking numbers for to pay the Redskins.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that controversy if he wouldn't have? Good to have it.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I slipped the Pirates in there. My goodness. Pirate fans, you can say what you want. They are a loyal lot. Okay? It is easy to be a Steelers fan. It is easy to be a Penguins fan. It is not easy to be a Pirates fan. And those people show up, and when they did that fan fest and Nutting didn't show up, okay? Which, again, that is a huge mistake. You sit there and you own up to what, okay? Those are your consumers. You're the owner. You sit there and you listen to them. And you give them thoughtful answers, okay? You give them a forum to talk to you, and you give thoughtfully. You do not insulate yourself. You're going to do something like that, you go out there and you explain what your philosophy is and why. Why is it that Major League Baseball doesn't have a salary cap?
Because they'd have to have a salary floor.
Exactly. And who doesn't want a floor? One of the franchises that doesn't want a floor is
the Pirates.
Exactly. They don't want a floor, right? I mean, that's why these are answers that we'll talk about in this show. Like, we don't do hot takes, okay? And so I don't care who owns the team. I mean, Terry Pagula is one of the few guys that outright owns his team in the NFL. Outright owns them. And even he's looking at to see if there's some additional investment out there.
Is he 100%?
Terry is right now. Terry's 100%.
Wow.
Right, and he's one of the few, if maybe the only. Right, but it's so expensive to own teams. There's only a few people that can do it. That's why I'm surprised Bezos hasn't tried to do it. I don't know what kind of sports fan he is. I don't know. I'm surprised Bezos hasn't tried to do it. You notice, like Steve Ballmer, who wasn't Ballmer with Gates?
Yes.
With Bill Gates. Ballmer has. Ballmer tried to buy the Sacramento Kings and move them to Seattle. It looked like they had it, and then the Sacramento mayor at the time, Kevin Johnson, the former NBA point guard with the Suns, was able to get Globe One Arena built, and the Kings stayed in Sacramento. Ballmer then eventually bought the Clippers for $2 billion, which at the time was, oh my God, he spent $2 billion. And in that moment, in that hour, it was one of those OMG moments. Okay? But they're just, to own a professional franchise today, your capital has to be off the tables to do it today. It's expensive. I mean, you have to have incredible amounts of money to do it. There aren't that many people that can. When Josh Harris bought it, what kind of bidding war was there? I think there was one other, was it a Canadian group or something?
I was going to say there was one. I think there was one other ownership group other than him.
And that was it. It's like today when you see, this is a completely, tangent example here, but when you see, for example, you notice there's no bidding for the Olympics anymore? I mean, they bid, but there's only a couple countries, and Kazakhstan's always one of them. And to their credit, they finish second every time. World Cup, Kazakhstan finished second. Olympics, Kazakhstan finished second. I mean, they're bidding for the Winter Olympics at one point. Oslo dropped out. Norway dropped out of the Winter Olympics bidding? Norway dropped out. Because it's too expensive. That's the reason why. It says everything is so expensive these days to do it. That's why only a few of these guys can own it. And look, I don't want an owner who thinks the team's a hobby. And I don't think Josh Harris thinks it. I don't know him at all, but I don't sense he thinks the Philadelphia 76ers are a hobby. But the whole thing, I mean, look, we know they're a mess. I got it. But they've been a mess before he owned the team. Now, not like the Knicks have been going great guns, right? Dolan owns the Knicks, and they have been going great guns. They finally have been pretty good the last couple of years, but they haven't won a title since 1973. Right?
Speaking of Sixers owners, Howard Katz died this weekend.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I was trying to think. I knew one of the owners. I knew it wasn't Pat Croce, but I knew one of the owners passed this weekend.
Right.
It finally popped in my head.
It's hard owning a franchise. I mean, the amount of money you need to do it, and you got to somehow hire the right people, and timing sometimes means something. Right time, right place, whatever. It's hard. But he's mad that he owns a team in the NFC East. If he owned any other team in the NFL, Matt wouldn't say a word. He wouldn't say a word. Now, as for the 2-11, you wonder why Philadelphia fans get so frustrated year after year after year. Did you realize that?
I did not, but it doesn't surprise me.
The city of Philadelphia, okay, 2-11 since 1983. That's 42 years. Okay, they've had 13 teams either make the championship game or the finals of their sport, and they've lost 11 out of 13. Only the 2008 Phillies and the Eagles winning the Super Bowl in 2017, the only two to get over the top and have a parade. You want to know why the Eagles fans are frustrated? That's why Philadelphia fans are frustrated. They have franchises that can't get over the top. And I don't blame you in the least. I was a Red Sox fan and still am a Red Sox fan. And even though they finally won a championship when I was, how old was I, 46 at the time? It was 40 years before I was born. They didn't win either. They went 86 years. And I watched everything. I watched Bucky Den Homer. I watched the ball go through Bill Buckner's legs. All sorts of stuff. Okay? So I know how you feel. Right? I understand it. But you wonder why Philadelphia fans get like this? That's because their teams, right? Like some years they've just been playing bad, and other years when they get there, they don't get it done. That's not fun. You wonder why Matt is the way he is. No. He has to explain to his kids the 2 and 11 thing now. Daddy, what did he mean by that? What's 2 and 11? Oh, that doesn't sound fun, Daddy. That's a lot of losing, Daddy. We're going to do it this year now or not. And believe me, like the Phillies, I was rooting for the Phillies when they played the Yankees. I was rooting for the Phillies when they played, right, against the Astros. I was rooting for them. I was like, come on, guys, let's go. Let's get it done. This will be great. Like, no. So, you know what I mean? So I understand the frustration of Philly fans and how they feel. I mean,
could be worse. Could be a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, but they've won 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not recently. No,
it's been 30 years, right? But in the 30 years, the Eagles have won 1.
Well, that's true.
Okay. I mean, like, yeah, that's why, like the attitude of the Dallas. Okay. Right now, you're the better franchise. You don't have to act like little brother. Okay, and you do act like little brother when you do that. Like, come on. Now, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, that is. Right? Dallas, yeah, guys, here's one for you. Dallas, you could always tell, and Red Sox fans are still to this day guilty of it, in my opinion. Right? Like, you've won 4 championships in this century. 4 of them. Right? Not 1, you've won 4. And they still act like every time the Yankees score, the Yankees. Like, please stop it. You're the better franchise. They're chasing you. Ooh, man. I just got my bill from the Ann Arbor Hotel. That is not a cheap place. Hey, unfortunately, I'm turning it in. It's like, holy moly. You know how much it costs to stay there?
I'm almost scared.
So they charged me for 2.5 days. Looks like 2.5 days. Okay? 2.5 days, $662. Mercy. God.
It's like $250 a night.
I mean, no wonder Paris Hilton can rebuild.
Oh.
Graduates are now owned by Hilton, just so you know. Okay. Like, oh, mackerel. I think she's doing pretty well. Like, holy mackerel. Like, God, we might as well stay at the Ritz.
Does Ann Arbor have a Ritz?
No. There's a state tax. There's an occupancy tax. Like, holy mackerel, what the heck?
I'm surprised since it's a Big Ten city, there's not a Nittany Lion tax.
I wouldn't doubt it. But because the one in Iowa City was $122. Like, okay. This one I go, $249. Like, I'll be honest with you, it's like we weren't staying in Manhattan. Okay, Ann Arbor's closer more in terms to Manhattan, Kansas than it is to Manhattan next to the Bronx. I mean, come on.
Maybe it's the last time you guys stay in that hotel.
Oh, I know. I'm going to mention it to them. It's like, hey, guys, might as well just go over to the Ypsilanti Marriott. We're good. It's like, come on, man.
Airbnb, everybody might be cheaper.
I don't know if I want to do that. Now, admittedly, we are staying in Beverly Hills. Yes. Now, that'll be expensive anyway. They had to email me the bill. I'm like going, what the heck? So, yeah. Neil coming up. 2-11. That's not good. It's not fun. It's a lot of frustration. You wonder why. It's sometimes a mad lot. 2-11 explains that. Yeah.
It's not the only explanation, but it's one of them.
It's one of them. Yankees free agent signs with National League Central team. Really? It's okay for Matt to be a Yankees fan, but it's not okay for Josh Harris to own the Commanders. He didn't like that at all. I can root for whoever I want. He can own anything he wants. What the heck? If you get approved by the other owners in the league, you're okay. But it's okay for Matt to be a Yankees fan. He's not a Phillies fan. Oh, goodness gracious. Great to have Jim Knowles here. Yeah, I was called last night about they wanted to do an interview with him, and the person they wanted to do it wasn't sure if they could or not. And it turned out that it's could you be the backup? I said, yeah. And it turned out that the person that could do it was there to do it. So, I mean, that worked out. But at some point, I've only passed Jim in the hallway. I've never met him. And, it's, and I mean, not even say hi. Like, I'm just, it's all business. I'm going back to my booth, the Ohio State defensive staff, whether it's at the Horseshoe or Beaver Stadium, is going to their booth. So, I mean, so you pass him. I saw him, but I've never met him before. Yeah. So, yeah.
Pass him in November and go, what if I told you you're going to be our defensive coordinator next year?
I sort of stay away from that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I do. But I did stop him one time and said, how do you feel about Josh Harris owning the Commanders? Oh! I mean, Jim's a Pennsylvania guy, right?
Yeah, I saw that. They posted a video today, too, where he got a little jab in at the suburbs. Yeah. St. Joe's Prep. Yeah, St. Joe's Prep. That's why Jimmy Martelli on Penn State's basketball staff is from St. Joe's Prep. So he says, I'm the second most famous St. Joe's Prep guy in the staff. I said, yes, but you're the longest tenured. He goes, oh, that's a good point. Oh, well, I'm excited to see what he can do here. And all I know is that when I've watched him other places, now I don't remember him being at Western Michigan. I don't. But watching him at Duke, Oklahoma State, Ohio State, you're like, oh, yeah, hey, obviously he can do a really good job. And then, I thought that watching his teams. Right. So, big plus. Well, feel like I left Matt speechless again, don't you? Doesn't happen often.
No, it's happened like a month now, like 4 shows in a row. I got to give him credit. He keeps getting back up off the deck. I got to give him a lot of credit. He gets off the deck, keeps going, though, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Is the suit even in the building tonight?
He was. Like, I haven't heard from him in like 20 minutes. I can't guarantee the last 20 minutes.
See, what I love is when you're sitting there and he just like bursts into the room. All right, he's in the background talking to you. You got the mic on. I'm like, oh, what's he doing? Let Todd finish the show. That always cracks me up when he does that to you. Ay. All right. Neil Coulong coming up. We'll talk with him as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Purdy Insurance.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is, because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.